This is Ichariba Choodee, an Okinawan Voices and Stories podcast, episode 1. Haisai gusiyo. Hello everyone. Hajimitiyaasai. Nice to meet you. Welcome to Ichariba Choodee, a podcast featuring Okinawan voices and stories. In this podcast, we aim to create an open and safe learning and growing space where the three of us will explore alongside guest speakers what it means to be Shimanchu. Our intention and prayer for this project is to cultivate our own knowledge about our histories, celebrate the amazingly diverse and resilient culture of our people, inspire other Shimanchu of all generations and geographic locations to be curious about their histories, and to preserve those precious pieces of our identity for future generations. And of course, to have fun along the way. We'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll stumble around and be human. We hope you will come join us for this evolving journey together. We're looking forward to it. Yutasurugutu, 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚. So here we are. Welcome to the first episode. We are going to start off with some brief self-introductions so that you can get to know our co-hosts. So we'll begin. Tori, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Tori. I currently live on Kanaka Oiwi land in the Kapalama Ahupua'a. I am a quarter Okinawan, 5th generation 𝕼𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚 and 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚. Yeah.
Thanks, Tori. Erica, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. I was born and raised on the land of the Kanaka Maoli on the island of Oahu. But currently I live on the lands of the Clackamas, Cowlitz, and Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, or also known as Portland, Oregon. I'm a 3rd, 4th generation Japanese Okinawan, and I'm a graphic designer and illustrator.
Thank you, Erica. And I am Mariko. I am joining from Montpelier, Vermont, where I reside on Abenaki land, also called Dakina in the Abenaki language. I am a half Okinawan American who grew up in a military family. My mother is from Sashiki, and my father is from Brattleboro, Vermont. And I did have the cool experience of living in Okinawa for 3 years, where I attended a local elementary school, but then returned to the States and haven't really had a chance to connect with my Okinawan heritage. So I'm delighted to be on this journey alongside both of you. Yeah. All right. So now that we've done the introductions, we'd love to introduce you to the actual Ichariba Choodee podcast. So just a little bit about why we chose the name and how we relate to it.
Ichariba Choodee, I think it's like a Okinawan proverb that means once we meet, we're family for life. So I think the intention was to use that as a way to talk to other guests and hopefully connect other Uchinanchu across the world together, even though it's through an audio format, and hopefully these stories resonate somehow or help you unpack your identity, however that may be. So I'm definitely looking forward to these conversations because I have a lot to learn still.
I appreciate what you were saying, Erica, about like unpacking identity. I think that's, I just feel like as long as I've lived, I continue to unpack. So it's like at every point, and even in the last like 3 months, like where I've stumbled into this community and found out that there were other people that identified similarly or differently, but similarly enough. This has just been like an incredible journey. And I think for me, what is really inspiring about the podcast is the fact that we, like the three of us, have such completely different lenses that we're approaching our like identities through. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about the different like names, like the specific, Okinawa and Ryukyu, Uchinanchu, Shimanchu, sort of the semantics of the words. But I'm just like so excited to hear from both of you and from our speakers. And I know there's just going to be so many amazing conversations, but really, really psyched to know more. Cool.
Do you identify with any specific name for you, Mariko or Tori? Like gravitating towards like Okinawan versus Uchinanchu versus Ryukyu, etc. I know there's like many names for us, so. And there's like different like explanations for it. So I'm curious how you guys identify.
I think I identify the most with Uchinanchu and Shimanchu, just because they're the closest words to our languages that are spoken. Whereas Okinawan and Ryukyu is kind of, well, Ryukyu less so, but Okinawan is a mix of like a Japanese word and an English word for us. And I feel like Shimanchu is the most overarching in regards to including people within the so-called Ryukyus. But that's just me.
No, I love that. Yeah, because it spans so much. And then there's like, obviously how there's the history of colonization and that influences the word choice. And yeah, so we were talking about this a little bit before, but there's recently been this meme that has been going around, and we'll post that in the show notes so people can link to it and share what their reactions and their thoughts are. But it was basically like the meme of Batman and like Batman is slapping Robin, or I don't know who's slapping who, but basically there's a woke Okinawan that is telling maybe not so woke Okinawan that they aren't Japanese, that they didn't even speak Japanese. I'm going through a little bit of my own decolonization of my own sort of mentality around my identity. Because, when I grew up, I was in a military family. We didn't really, my mom didn't bring the proud Okinawan piece to my identity so much. I knew I was Okinawan, and that was different. It was different than Japanese. But ever since I was little, I remember feeling this like, not pride, but, it's like, oh, I'm Japanese, like it was easier for me to identify because I wasn't necessarily around other Okinawan people. But as I've gotten older and found community, I feel like that piece is also strengthened. I'm like, oh, it is different. There is like this vibrant like language and culture and all of that. So I do, like you were saying, Tori, appreciate the Shimanchu, like the idea of the inclusivity of that word. But yeah, that's a little bit about, I kind of rambled a bit, but.
No, thanks for sharing that. Because I think I sort of identify with that too in terms of growing up. The word Okinawan and Uchinanchu was used frequently, and there was like a distinction between being Japanese and Okinawan, but there wasn't really a huge, for me, at least an understanding of what the difference was. There was a difference, but the explanation of why wasn't really explained to me. And I feel like like maybe a few years ago, I learned about the history, but I didn't really put it in context of colonization and what the implications of that really means until maybe like last year, really. And to like also be like, oh, Uchinanchu, Ryukyu, Shimanchu, we're indigenous. And that has also been kind of like an eye-opener for me, which I'm still like, what does it mean to be indigenous? And how do I relate to that being like not born in the islands? I still like feel like I can't claim that indigenous part. It just I feel disconnected to that. So that's also like something I kind of am also learning in this kind of identity part of this. I think I mentioned this to you guys before, but I feel like I'm still baby Shimanchu. Like I'm still learning so much. And I've only really started my journey about 6 months ago. So just making connections in the community and like learning and decolonizing and whatnot has just been a ride. So, and then even recently, I didn't know what Shimanchu was until like 3 months ago, basically. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I like Shimanchu because it is like inclusive to to everyone of like the islands and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm just really appreciating the like the organic nature, like how this is unfolding. And, you know, for me, my, you know, everybody's path is just a little bit different. But also I think there's this like similar thread, like the piece that's coming to me is about displacement and home and longing and belonging. And, you know, I think for me kind of growing up, again, in a military family, but also not necessarily connected to the Okinawan piece, like, no, I felt like there was like this knowing. And as I talk to more and more Okinawan people, they resonate with that. And I don't know if that's like a common human thing or if that's like a Okinawan thing, but they're like, oh no, you get a pull, like you get pulled back to the island, you know, like you have this, like, there's this bond. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And how important that is and what that means for the Shimanchu or Uchinanchu that are displaced. You know, obviously we're not in Okinawa. I think what's coming up for me is like being half, like not necessarily belonging in one place or another. And like the idea of being able to claim something as like either, you know, 100% Okinawan or like, you know, is like 50% enough. And I feel like a lot of other indigenous cultures, like peoples of indigenous cultures, like come up against the same thing. And I'm actually curious what your thoughts are on how that, how you relate to that.
Just in terms of like percentages of being Okinawan, or just how I relate to the indigenous factor?
I mean, I meant, yeah, I guess it could be either. But I guess there's two questions that I have. It's like, how do you relate to your Okinawan identity? And is it related to like a percentage or indigenous? Do you claim that? I know, Tori, you talked to it a little bit to that. But and then the second piece was just around the Okinawan and then being displaced and not necessarily being in Okinawa. And how do you relate to that identity of yourself sort of being removed from Okinawa, but maybe in a culture that allows you to still feel connected, or like a community rather?
Yeah, that's like really good questions. I guess in terms of how I relate to my Uchinanchu side is, I think, interesting for me, at least for the last 6 months. Like, I feel like growing up, it was very much more on the Japanese side of my family, and maybe not so much with the Okinawan side. Like, I think my mom's side of the family, there, a lot of that side did like traditional dance or taiko and stuff like that. But I never really did that. The closest thing I did was just like, you know, go to the Okinawan festival and eat andagi and stuff like that, or bon dance. So I feel like growing up, I was maybe not as interested. Sadly, I was uninterested, but now I don't know why, like only recently I felt really interested in like understanding my Okinawan side again. But now I feel like even though I'm like only half, I'm like very much invested in like this half of me that I've never really discovered before. And I think that's also like interesting for me to unpack, like being Japanese as well, in terms of like colonizer and the colonized kind of thing, and just like the dynamics of that and stuff has been interesting to think about and stuff. And I don't know if I have like a real grasp on that yet, but yeah, and just, you know, being part of the diaspora, it has been actually pretty amazing to connect with people in the diaspora just online, because it seems like I feel very connected for not meeting in person, and to be quickly accepted into a community. Like in 3 months, basically being adopted has been really awesome. I don't know. I think Tori is also responsible for that, which is why we're all doing this together, this podcast, I might add. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you think, Tori, in terms of just like being part of the diaspora, or how you identify with that Okinawan part and stuff.
Yeah, so I don't think I had that heavy of an influence. I think it was all of you. But for me, I grew up with my grandparents, so I guess I had an even balance of my grandma who's from Tokyo, my grandpa who's third generation. Uchinanchu or Shimanchu, he would always take us to like, the Sonjinkai events. So unfortunately, I'm not very connected to my Henza side, but my family still has connections to some of them. But he would also take me to HOA events, and HOA, for those who don't know, is Hawaii United Okinawa Association. And they host a lot of amazing events with people from Okinawa or students from Okinawa who come to Hawaii to perform or otherwise. So he made an active effort to make sure that I knew where our family came from, which I am very, very grateful for, because I feel like, especially as a fifth generation individual, it's very easy for that connection to get lost somewhere along the way, whether it's out of disinterest or assimilation or something of that nature. So super, super incredibly grateful for my grandpa and my auntie, who also has done a lot of family networking, to have done what they have done prior to me either being born or being cognizant of my identity. But yeah, in regards to I guess, how do I relate to my Okinawan heritage regarding, I guess, percentages? I don't really, I guess maybe due to the way I was raised, I kind of just see myself as Okinawan in most situations and Japanese in a few. My percentages don't really play a part in the way I see myself. I think I'm just grateful for the people who have come before me, and being able to have the experiences that like my local Sonjinkai has allowed me to have through living in Ginoza for 3.5 months. I think really also put my feet on the ground, or not put my feet on the ground, but let me have roots in the place that my family is from. Really gave me a better sense of my identity, even though I had a sense of it beforehand. But yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I'm curious, have either of you, so you mentioned like studying in Okinawa, have you spent significant time there, either of you?
Only, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Tori.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just say I've never been to Okinawa, so that is like on the top of my list to do after COVID is all better and stuff. Hopefully, Taikai 2022.
Yeah, we're going. Join us.
That would be
Choodee.
Yeah, we're going to do karaoke and have our podcast live. But no, I was just going to say I've never been, and I really want to go though. But Tori, I think you have had experiences which I'd like to hear more about.
I actually, the only time I spent a significant amount of time was the 3.5 months I was doing my Kenchusei. Before that, I had only visited Okinawa in 2014. And then the latest was in 2019. And because I wanted to stay a long time, I stayed there for like 3 weeks.
I think that 3 weeks was a long time.
Since I didn't have a visa to stay there longer.
Okay.
But I do want to go back either for language school or for my master's program, or for a master's program. But we'll see how that goes with COVID. But I'd like to hear more about your 3 years in Okinawa, if you don't mind sharing, Mariko.
Yeah, not at all. it was kind of a turbulent time. It definitely formed who I am. But yeah, so my dad, my family was stationed there. My dad's the U.S. military. He was in the Navy. And my mother's from Okinawa, and they thought it would be great. They had a choice to be stationed there. They chose to. And then while we were there, they thought we lived in Kitanaka-gusku, and they, as parents do, were like, we want to give you a cultural immersion. And so we're going to put you in Okinawan public school. And so I did my shogakko 1 through 3 and at Kitanaka Shogakko. And it was kind of intense because I didn't speak the language. I didn't really, I didn't speak Japanese or anything like that. And because I am half and I appear, at least physically, I have brown hair and don't really look Asian. There was a lot of discrimination. I was just definitely like very othered at that time. But what I did love about my time was just like, I think I got to know the land more than anything. And I'm just a little bit more about me is like, I'm definitely an earth-based spirituality practitioner. And a lot of that spirituality directly relates to my time in Okinawa as a child. And so being in some of the bamboo groves, I spent a lot of time at the ocean and like Chirami, like just like the beautiful ocean. And there is a sacredness to the land and just like the deep silences and like the deep feelings of divinity that exist at some of the shrines and these like sacred locations, even if they weren't well, I guess as a kid, I didn't really understand what they were. They were just kind of presented to me. Like, I think, one of the benefits of that time for me was just kind of being wide-eyed and just experiencing everything as it came to me. So, even like, I remember my first shimi where like we went to the family grave and I'm like, we're having a picnic at like the family grave. Like, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. This is like not American at all. Like, we're just going to go have a picnic. Okay. And so it felt like a little bit like drinking from the fire hose, but not really having a whole lot of context to orient me. And yeah, so I think, I feel like I just dived into that like a lot. But I really did enjoy my time that I was there. It was probably one of the most freeing, most connective times. And it's a completely like the island culture, which is very different than New England culture. I don't know if we're going to have any listeners from New England, but it's cold. The winters are awful. It snows a lot. It is not Okinawa. And that half of me is just very sad to not be there. But I am hoping, I'm exploring and excited to for 2022. Yeah. We're going to go, we're going to karaoke. We're going to have a live podcast. We're just going to keep dropping that. And then for all of you people out there that are listening, you're going to come too, and we're going to all pile into a karaoke booth and we're going to sing our favorite songs. And it's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be amazing. But thanks for sharing that, Mariko. That's kind of amazing that you were there at such a young age, but you had such a strong connection to the land that like basically resonated with you throughout your life, which I feel like I've never had that. Like, I feel like I was never that like aware of like my surroundings or things as a kid. And so that's really amazing that you're able to have that experience and hold that with you till adulthood and stuff. So that's amazing.
Thanks. I feel grateful for it now. I think at the time, it's just like the growing pains and like being an angsty teenager. Like, I feel like I carried a lot of that with me, but it's made me much more open and understanding. And I think it has led me to like even being the kind of person that would be like, hey, do you want to start a podcast? You know, like I think there's like, you know, there like each one of us has a reason for why we wanted to do this, you know, and each of those meanings is like so profound. And like I imagine that there are so many other people that are out there that are curious, that are wanting to know more about themselves, that are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, I get that, like, you know, I get that piece. And anyway, I'm excited to be part of whatever this ends up being.
Me too. Yeah, I'm super grateful for the both of you to be here and to like create not nothing, but something that didn't quite have a voice or a space into something that does, you know, and that can reach out to people across the world. In English.
I know. For now.
Yeah, that is really awesome. Yeah, I'm really grateful for you guys too, because I think right now, I think all of us were a little nervous when we first started this, but now that we're just talking,
Yep.
It's like I really am enjoying just basically talking story and just learning more about everyone else's experiences, because I know that all three of us have different stories, and definitely does not encapsulate the entire, we don't stand in for the entire Uchinanchu community, but just to know that some people have had similar experiences, I think is just helpful. And just the different nuances. And I think I'm just really excited to also just talk to other like awesome Shimanchu. Like, yeah, I'm just really excited to just talk story more.
Yeah.
Me too. Can't wait till we can have guest hosts.
I know. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think we were alluding a little earlier that right now it's only in English, but our hopes and dreams of the podcast is to make it multilingual, hopefully. And so if you're interested in also hosting in a different language, send us an email.
Little plug.
We're plugging this in. I think we also want to do it in like Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese, and then hopefully being able to translate out into the different languages, so that because everyone's experiences throughout the different countries is so different too. And I think just being able to understand each other that way would be just really amazing in general. So if anyone is interested, let us know. I think our Gmail is shimanchupodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to plug that in.
Show notes. All right. I'm actually curious about mentors and inspiration. Do you all have either like a person or persons or, you know, or organizations that you look up to for inspiration?
I guess I'll go first. I think I would consider Joseph Kamiya to be definitely one of my unspoken mentors, my unofficial mentor. I randomly found him online a long time ago, posting about Okinawan content like years ago, and we are still in contact, and he has been the most helpful person, I think, in my journey with my Okinawan heritage. Like there was a time before where I knew I was Okinawan, but I wasn't fully involved in, I guess, participation, or I wasn't interested. So he really helped me like have a solid support system, I guess, in figuring out programs or questions I had, or helping me get involved in my own way to Okinawan communities. And he has so much connections and so much knowledge about so many different things. I would always bother, and I still bother him about questions. He's definitely my official mentor. Apart from that, yeah, definitely. I mean, apart from my grandpa's number one. But for somebody who's outside of my family, Joseph is definitely my number one. So If you're in California, you should definitely look up Okinawa Association of America. I'm just saying. But apart from that, I think my like photo mentors, because I am a photographer, were the people I worked with when I was doing my Kenshu stay or doing my Kenshu program in Spinoza, who would be Yuta Nakama, Yu Zakimi, and Tomoya Ogoshi, and they do a lot of creative media / creative planning for lighting and stage production, I guess. They have introduced me also to a lot of people and have taken me around in Okinawa, Honto, to different places and stuff. So I really appreciate them incorporating me into their group, even though I just met them like 3 years ago.
It's amazing. I love that. It transcends, right? It transcends time. It's like, that's like
time and place.
Ichariba Choodee.
Yes.
I think Brandon would be upset. Ichariba Choodee. Okay.
What about the two of you? Do you guys have any mentors here or elsewhere, or?
Yeah. Erica, would you like to go first?
No, you can go for it.
I don't really have Okinawan mentor. Like, so this is like, I guess when we were coming up with these questions, I'm like, I'm curious about them because I'm still trying to figure out what they are for me, and sort of just because I feel relatively new to these types of connections, Okinawan connections, or like, I don't really have, somebody specifically Okinawan or related to Okinawa, but I do have spiritual mentors. So there is this wonderful woman that sort of I know through like some of the spiritual work that I do. And she's a dream worker, druid, pagan, and just like shaman, just an incredible person. And she really inspired me to I don't know how to describe it. She shows up as an elder. She embodies the type of person that I want to be. And I imagine that transcends, culture and like individual to another culture. So I just imagine like, I didn't know my Okinawan grandparents, but I just imagine the relationship that I have with this woman as a mentor figure, as somebody that was supporting me, that says, go for it, just like be your authentic self, and like, ask me questions, but like, just like really thought-provoking questions about who I am, what I'm doing in the world, and what gifts I have to offer, and all of that. I just I have these moments where I imagine that some of my ancestors might be speaking through her to me, just because I didn't have that opportunity to know my ancestors, especially on my mother's side, the Okinawan side. But yeah, so anyway, huge shout out to Mariko, who is my dear heart. So that would be my mentor. It's your turn, Erica.
Well, you stole my answer too, because I also don't really have a official, I guess, mentor or Okinawan mentor per se, just because I'm also really new to the community. So I don't really have anyone as a default to like go to specifically, but I have been making a lot of awesome connections. And I think that in itself has been really inspiring in general to connect with everyone online of all places. And that has just been my huge inspiration in terms of everything that I've been working on, like Shimanchu pen pals and this podcast and whatnot. So, but I'm really excited to be able to meet more people. But I know recently, or at least for me recently, being able to catch all the online programming for like the different lectures has been also just really great information to learn more about our history and culture and stuff. So yeah, I'm still also like on that journey of hopefully finding a mentor, Mariko. But yeah, and then I guess my design mentor unofficial, I would call him, is my professor from college, Che Holy. I don't think he'll listen to this, but hey, Che. He taught me, he was like one of the professors that really, I had actually my entire time in the design program, and has helped me tremendously throughout my entire design career. So, and has always provided me valuable and a lot of we call Cheisms that have stuck with me throughout my life. So just a shout out to him. Thanks, Che.
I love that. As you were speaking, I was just having this like incredible, I've been thinking a lot about like cycles of influence and that kind of thing too. And I'm just feeling really grateful. And for things like this, and how hard, at least for me, like I can't imagine the number of times like how I've like typed into like Google, like, or even before Google, like, being like, I want to find out about my Okinawan side, but like not having any resources. And so I think part of like my dream, and intention around putting energy into this podcast is to like, one, selfishly to find out more about Okinawan stuff, and but also to help inform other people that are also seeking, like, and I think that's what I love so much about like what you've done, Tori, with the like, like with the Discord channel and like connecting the community in that way, is like it has been absolutely like profound how like exponential like the connections have been. Even, and I want to say like the last like 2 months, like it's just been absolutely insane. It's like blowing my mind how the community has come together and just like supported and encouraged and made space for everybody to just kind of be their messy human selves and exploring, but also sharing. And I think that's really unique. I've never, like, social media kind of freaks me out because there's always like, there's like too much or too little and platforms and everybody's shouting, but nobody's listening. But like, I feel like we, like this Okinawan community, sorry, but I feel like there are people that are actually listening and it's okay and it's safe. So anyway, thank you for making that possible.
In regard to that, I have to thank Binakama and Machi for making the Instagram group. I don't think without them, and also my friend Kate, who made another Discord group called Nikki Pals, but I don't think without them, I would have thought about making a Discord group. But I think thanks to them, they really helped push, and I really hope Bean or Machi, if you're listening, please join us on the Discord group. We miss you. I will make you automatic admins. You have control of everything. But yeah, because they definitely have inspired the way it's set up, the connections, making sure people are connected, and trying to get everybody together. I definitely wouldn't have done this, I don't think, without them.
I just want
so
to
I'm
add on.
very grateful for them.
I think it's just coming around full circle, because I just want to also reiterate what Mariko said. Like, if you didn't, Tori, if you didn't invite me to the Discord group that you made, I don't think I would have thought of making Shimanchu pen pals, because I didn't even know that there was a community that existed who might be remotely interested in sending snail mail to other Shimanchu. So I think everyone's like being inspired by everyone else, which has been, I don't know, I think it's really amazing to see. And it's just, I think it's just fueling and giving everyone else permission to start their own projects or become more interested or curious about it, to not feel like shameful maybe for not knowing all this information before. Because I feel like when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't have all my grandparents had passed away, so I'm not able to access them to understand where I come from. So I think part of the journey has also been like coming to terms with that part, and showing myself forgiveness for being selfish, a little selfish person growing up, and only realizing how important this is. And so yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but
I thank you for being vulnerable, Erica. I just think that's like so important in the work that we're doing is like, you know, that like human messy piece. And I've been thinking a lot about, maybe not in this podcast, but I think a lot about cancel culture and just some of the ways that perhaps we, especially, I think we all identify as women, but you know, being an Asian woman and the type of silencing of our voices and how directly tied it is to shame. Anyway, I'd love to unpack that at some point. And I just want to salute both of you for showing up as your authentic selves for this work, because it's hard and it's uncomfortable, but we're going to have a lot of awesome times too. Yeah, I'm like 2022. Like I'm planning on taking like a month or two off from work. I'm just gonna like go and travel and like figure out if like I want to study there, relocate there, work or something. Like, but this is like, it's kind of crazy. So the beginning of this year, this is like completely unrelated, but like the beginning of this year, even before I found the Discord, I was like, my goal is to connect to my Okinawan roots. And like I was taking this grad class for seminary I did my final project on like Okinawan revitalization and it was like after I submitted that I found the Discord channel and there was like all of these resources and I was like, what? Like my whole project was like so not even like this is like so bad. But anyway, I went in 2022. I'm going to like, take the time off. I'm going to meet these people. I want to go to the protests. I like want to do all this stuff. And I just feel like that makes me feel alive and I love it. So thank you. And thank you for like your connection. Like you're an amazing like web person. Like you have like
Tori, you're like the networking queen.
Oh, web. It's incredible.
Yes. I have two names. My first one is the link queen. Second one is the networking queen. I think I'm not very good at speaking, but I love it's so fun. I don't know why. It's just so fun to like connect people and, you know, share resources. It's a shame when resources are, I mean, in certain situations, resources do not need to be publicly shared to the whole world. But like in regards to the community, I think that it's important to share all this information. It's why keep it to yourself. But that's just me. But yeah, I love connecting people. It's so fun. You never know what comes out of it. Like,
you know, like a podcast.
Exactly. Like a podcast or the magazine or you know, like it's fun. It's just fun. I mean, it's like, I guess maybe I'm inspired by the art world of connections to get a job, but
the underlying reason.
Yes, exactly. The only reason you get a job. I get a really good job at the New York magazine. But no, it's just fun. I don't know why. It's I've seen it's just been so much different connection. I mean, not just me, just seeing other people connect people together, people connecting me to people. That's just fun. That's my goal in life.
I love it.
No, I totally agree. It's so fun connecting people, and it's just like, you're friends now too. I love it.
Yeah.
I love seeing it.
we can all hang out now.
I know. I think
it.
someone on the Discord was like, they imagine you like passing out blankets to orphans on the internet kind of thing. Like, you have a community with us. I forgot who said that, but I was like, that is so accurate.
I think that was Tara.
Okay.
I don't know if Tara goes by Tara on Discord. They might go by Lunoki. But
oh my
like,
gosh,
no.
that's the
I was like, no, my gosh, you guys are not orphans.
You're orphan Shimanchu and you're passing out blankets and like, come home with me. I have a community for you. It's like, yes. Thank you, Tori.
I mean, yeah. The other thing too is that's no. We're just finding a part of ourselves that was always there that we just need a little bit a push of. And that goes for me to like, there's definitely so much like I learned from you guys or learned from the Discord or from academics or whatever else, HUA, OA, but that comment though.
It makes me laugh. It's just like, there you go.
Just print that out. Put that in my planner, my journal planner.
I love it.
It's too funny.
Good. But yeah. Do you want to get like that's actually a pretty good segue into like what advice might you have for other Shimanchu seeking to connect with their culture? Or what dreams, prayers would you like to share for the future? I love that. Like, right, I'm still stuck on the virtual blankets.
Just pass out virtual blankets. The connections will come.
You get a blanket. You get a blanket.
You get a blanket. Everybody gets a blanket.
Everybody.
I think, important aspect of community is being able to find it, not being afraid of reaching out to people who inspire you or people you want to just get to know. And definitely find people like, I love talking with you guys because you guys are so encouraging and so thoughtful. But, find people who will support you and encourage you to do the things that you want to do, and maybe will help you make a space like this podcast or make a Discord or make a pen pal group. Does it count as a group?
I'm not sure yet.
Not good with words. Make a pen pal event. And just encourage the perpetuation of knowledge from one generation or one person to the next person, because it's a never-ending cycle. I think the more you pass on, it will be reciprocated, I think, in some way, and you all can equally learn from one another, or we all can equally learn from one another. I think that's true too from diaspora to people from Okinawa. I think there's so much to learn between us and them, or diaspora to diaspora. I don't know, just connections are everywhere. Don't be afraid to look for them.
I really love that. I want you as a meme. I want this.
We want the hands.
The hands, and then the blanket. It's just like
the podcast listeners cannot see the hands.
Oh, they can't see the hands, but they can visualize it. For you listeners, if we decide to keep it, Tori is gesturing with her hands.
I would say that everything you said, Tori, is spot on. I think most of my connections that I've had so far is like people or me reaching out to people or just commenting and just like, I love your work, or thank you for sharing that. And conversations have just sprouted that way, and deeper connections also have like just came from that. So yeah. Or also I'm gonna do a quick plug. You can join me at Shimanchu Pen Pals and can connect you with another Shimanchu across the world to talk to you via snail mail.
And we're all super awesome.
But everything you said, Tori, is spot on.
Yeah, gonna echo all of that. And I think for me, the piece that I come back to is curiosity and play. And I think that it's really important to stay in sort of that magical, curious space, especially when it comes to like unpacking some of the heavy stuff that comes along with being Okinawan. Just because for a long part of my life, I was very angry and confused and had a lot of feelings, strong feelings, but it was not magical and it was not play. But I feel like there was like a giant softening that happened around that. So just wanting to see people stay in that joy, because there's so much vibrancy in the Okinawan culture. And like, the freaking community is amazing. The community exists. So yes, network, connect, all of those things, and be curious. And I'm doing a heart gesture.
We'll do it with you.
Thank you.
The Shimanchu podcast heart. From us to you and you to us.
I love it.
And we're saving the final question, the best question, for last. What is your go-to karaoke song? Go.
That was a hard one. There's so many.
I know, right? I was like, why did we choose this question? How do you choose?
It's the test.
All the Beacon songs.
Wait, which one?
All of them.
All of them.
Just all of them.
All of them. Yeah, I feel like there's like a different one for each mood, right? You're like, I sing this with my besties, like, and we're going back and we're doing Britney, like, or like, you know. I think for me, like, so when I was studying abroad, I studied abroad in Nagoya. The song that we always sang was "Eye of the Tiger." And
that's funny.
It was great. So I'm gonna go with that one.
That's all very good. I think for me, I can't also choose a specific one, but probably genres of like the 2000s, like boy band, girl band stuff is always a hit. And then probably going back to my high school days, I was the emo kid, so alternative emo rock is my jams. So emo's not dead, you guys. Just say that.
We're singing songs. We're going to do it.
Yes. Those are my go-to karaoke playlists. Cool.
If I could sing, or if I could rap, Anaconda.
Oh my God. That's such a difficult song to rap.
I know.
I've tried it before. I was terrible at it. Everyone was not drunk enough, so they didn't hear how great I was.
My rapping abilities and singing abilities are just not up there yet. But I imagine in my head the best version of myself for that song.
Amazing. I want to see that.
Apart from that, I think if I were to go with Okinawan songs, Sanchi no Hana and Shimanchu no Takara are definitely my top two to sing in karaoke with people who know the song. Songs.
If we're talking about Okinawan songs, I'm a bad Shimanchu and I don't really know a lot of Okinawan songs yet. But recently, the Haisai Oji-san song has been stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go with that one.
Dude, I was telling my mom about that song. It's like about like a young guy asking his uncle or like Oji-san about like leftover alcohol or something.
Really?
Is that I'm like, does anybody know the content of that song, like what it is?
I don't. I just sing it because it's fun.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I would sing it, but I don't know if we're gonna get in trouble for it. But
we're talking about the Oreo no Ji-san song, right?
I think so. I don't know. I just know the Haisai Oji-san.
Oh, that's a different one. That's by oh shoot, it's at the top of my shoot. Oh no, I forgot who the singer was.
I'm sorry, I don't know who the singer is.
No, I know who you're talking about.
I only know that part of the song. It's been on repeat in my head for like the last week.
He's the that is Shokichi Kina. Shokichi Kina, yeah. 1972, Hey Old Man. So I'm reading it off of Wikipedia.
Yeah. Tell me what the lyrics say. Is it about a guy like asking about alcohol? Or am I completely wrong?
That would be on brand for Okinawans.
Oh yeah, hey man, if there's a drop of sake left in the last night's little bottle, won't you give me some?
Yeah.
Hey boy, you think I am satisfied with a little bottle? Don't say there's none left. Okay, man, if the little bottle is not enough, give me a big one.
I love
Anyway,
it.
I'll send this to you guys.
That's funny.
That's amazing.
Hey man. Is there any sake left in this bottle?
That's incredible. Oh, I love it. Oh,
Yes.
Good
thank
times. All right. Well, are we complete for our first podcast?
you. I think I'm feeling pretty
I
complete.
think so.
Woohoo! All right. Well,
We did it.
Do you want to say like thank you, everyone, or something? Do we need to say anything?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
Nife debiru.
Ipe. Who was I? I was talking to somebody that was just like, oh yeah, I had Ipe in front of everything. So it's like Ipe awesome. And I was like, why am I not doing this in my daily life?
That's funny.
It's like Japanglish, but it's like Okinawan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can get behind that. That's pretty cool.
I need that energy. Energy.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Well, that was the end of our first episode. What did you think? I think we kept this first episode pretty casual and light, and hopefully you guys got to know us a little more, and we'd love to hear any of your comments, feedback, any questions you might have for us. Feel free to email us at shimanchupodcast@gmail.com, or even better, feel free to rate us or leave a comment on any of the channels that you listen to us, and of course, we would love it if you shared this with your friends and family. If you'd like to support our podcast, you can leave us a donation via Ko-fi, and the link will be on our website, and they are always graciously appreciated. Huge shout out to Taru for providing the music featured in today's podcast. You can find him on Instagram at _taru.taru or on Spotify, Taru. All these links that I've mentioned will be posted in our show notes. We hope to see you back here again next month, but until then,
Matayasai.
Matayasai.
Oh, hey, still listening? We're glad that you are. For this last segment of our podcast, we will be featuring an Okinawan word, phrase, or fun fact that may or may not be related to the actual content of the podcast. This month, very related to the energy around getting the podcast started, is the phrase chibario. Chibario roughly translates to do your best, or in Japanese, ganbare. What projects or goals are you working towards? Feel free to share with us by tagging us on Instagram. And until next time, from all of us at the podcast, chibario!